Alright, hey guys, remember CCG back in the video. This video me going over the new Infernoid support. So I've been waiting for years for this. It just feels like Christmas Day, waking up and seeing new Infernoid support. And I'm just hoping that this support's really good. So let's get started here. So here we have Infernoid Evil. It's a level 1 Fire Fiend fusion effect monster. So right away, I think this would be a great target for instant fusion, as long as there isn't anything like preventing you from using it. Which from just right off the bat, I don't see anything that's stopping you from doing that. If this card is fusion summoned, you can banish one Infernoid monster from your graveyard, send Infernoid monsters with different names from each other from your deck to the grave equal to the banished monster's level. So I think that effect's really good. Of course, it's going to come at the cost of banishing one of your Infernoid monsters, but I think at this point we're going to be able to stack up the deck with a bit more Infernoid monsters, because I'm hoping these cards overall make the deck more consistent. It doesn't mean that, and means that you don't need to rely as much as like out of engine things. But here, if we banish like a Saitsumis, a Tondale, something like that, being able to send 7 or 8 monsters from your deck to the grave, that's going to help the overall consistency of the deck, because sometimes you could brick a lot. And of course, you are banishing a monster, but you are getting so many monsters out of it. It's totally worth it, in my opinion. And if this card is sent to the graveyard or banished, you can add one void spell trap from your deck to your hand. Pretty easy, you know, if you're going to link this away, as you know, you tend to do with Infernoids or tribute it or something. Or if it even happens to be banished. It doesn't seem to say like where it has to be banished from, so I wonder if you can banish this from the grave and you'll be able to do this as well. If so, that's even better, because you can get 2 uses out of this card. But being able to search a void spell or trap from your deck to your hand, you can get yourself a void imagination, you can get yourself a void feast, whatever you need. So this could be really good for just setting up your grave with a bunch of cards and then getting rid of it and then searching out a void feast and ending your turn with that. So I think overall this monster is really good. The only way to really fusion summon it in engine is using void imagination, but obviously you'd rather use that on something like Tierra. But if your opponent hasn't like summoned out monsters as your first turn, then this is a good target. Not only that, instant fusion, I think it's worth running just for this card. It's definitely a good monster that's able to fill up your grave and provide a lot of value. It has searchability. I think it's an overall really good fusion monster. And then here we have Infernoid Flood. So this looks like it's going to be the next boss monster. It's a Link 4 Fire Fiend Link effect monster with 3000 attack. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If your opponent would special summon a monster, quick effect, you can tribute one monster, negate the summon, and if you do, banish those monsters. So that's really great. We are going to have a form of negation, a summon negation, which is cool. It is a Link 4, which is kind of difficult for Infernoids to pull off, but I think with this new support, it'll be a bit easier. I'm assuming that it's going to be a lot easier to get these monsters out. And if a card is banished from your graveyard, you can banish one card in the field. So that's great, obviously, because Infernoid is just going to be banishing a lot. So being able to have a non-target form of banishing, that's very powerful. And if this Link summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by your opponent, you can special summon one Infernoid monster for your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So you can get something out like a Ninsu or Deviati, so you can have a spell trap negate or a monster negate. I think it's a little hard to pull off having a Link 4 with Infernoids. That can be a little hard. I am assuming that these new cards are going to make it a lot easier to do this. But yeah, that is difficult. But I think this is a strong enough boss monster that like reaches that sort of that threshold to be decent, as you're able to have a summon negation. You can have you know, if a card is banished from your grave, you can banish a card in the field. That's easy to do. And if this Link summon card is gone, you get an Nunsu or Deviati, get yourself a monster negate or a spell trap negate. Honestly, pretty good. So here we have Void Blaze up. You can reveal one Infernoid monster or one void spell or trap in your hand, discard your hand, and draw the same number of cards you discarded. So that's going to be great. This deck obviously has the weakness of breaking a lot. So being able to do something like this to refresh your hand is nice. And you're filling up your grave with a bunch of, you know, Infernoid monsters, presumably, and searching out the spells and traps that you really need. If you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are feed monsters, and this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it will send there, you can banish it, then target up to 11 of your banished Infernoid monsters with different names, return them to the graveyard. So this is pretty insane. Definitely, you can see it's only once per duel, which makes sense. But if you can, if you're like left with no options, being able to fill up your grave with a bunch of Infernoid monsters, that's pretty powerful. I mean, it's gonna be really. This is a really good spell card overall. Just being able to refresh your hand and then giving you a last ditch effort in case you're losing and you've used up all your resources, which happens a lot in Infernoids, as a big weakness of doing that, or even like bricking. but being able to do this to refresh your grave and just having more monsters to get out, that's going to help the deck a lot. Okay, and here we have the final spell. So it's a continuous spell card called Void Barrier. Infernoid monsters you control gain 100 attack for each of your banished Infernoid monsters. That's a small little bonus. It's going to give your monsters, it's going to get them a little bit more beefy, and that's overall good for Infernoid. And if you control no monsters or all monsters you control are feed monsters, you can activate one of these effects. You can add one of your banished Infernoid monsters to your hand, or special ban one Infernoid monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. I think this is overall pretty good. It's going to beef up your monsters a little bit, and being able to add an Infernoid monster to your hand is a nice little touch that, you know, I don't think you're going to be searching out this card, but, you know, unless you have like an Anuncio or Devyati in your hand and you just want to get it out, then this could be great to just search out or to have, and being able to summon that out is pretty powerful, especially if you already established the board. Being able to ignore its summoning conditions and get another Devyati. We're going to see a lot more Devyatis and Anuncios on the board. Just have multiple copies of negates and something with Dark Lair. It's going to be difficult for our opponents to like try to avoid all this negates, and especially now that we have a Link 4 that negates summons as well. This can be really annoying for our opponents to deal with. But honestly, I think it's a really good line of support, and I can't wait to test it. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. This is definitely going to be at the top of my priority, just because I personally have a big connection with Infernoids, and I can't wait for this support to come out in the TCG as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.